It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. As we move into a Tuesday, Gary, what is happening? Let's go to the beach and see what the seashells say. Oh, look, there's a message in the sand.
What a dork.
Yeah.
Next thing is, there's a message in a bottle.
Look at this interesting formation. Don't mind me. I'm just a former FBI director and total enemy of the guy who fired me.
We'll get to that here coming up in a little bit. Audio cut of the day.
Woo!
We can start
the show with the audio cut of the day.
Yeah, we're going to play this and then we're done for the day. We're walking out. All right.
You guys do the rest. You know what? We do all the heavy lifting, audience. It's time you do some work yourself.
This is right. This is our Wildcat strike.
That reminds me.
We're going to play one audio cut and we're out of here because there's nothing more.
That reminds me of one of those restaurants where you walk up and put all the ingredients you want in the bowl, and it's like, dude, I'm not a chef. What are you doing? I'm not doing that. You cook it. Come on, audience. We want you to do the show prep and do the work, would you?
All right. Now, the only thing that bothered me about this audio cut.
Yeah.
And remember, this is on Morning Joe. And it was Ezekiel Emanuel. Now, the last time I saw him was probably 2010 for Obamacare.
Yeah. Was there something else he came out in? I forget where it was.
Might have been, but I forgot about it because all I can say is when they said, this is Ezekiel Emanuel, I went, is that his father?
Right. Yeah, right.
It's 15 years. Yeah. He's aged. I mean, he was on all the time, remember?
Right. Yeah, he was.
Oh, my God. Yeah. I'm old. Oh, no, I'm old. I'm old. Speaking of, and very quickly, another thing that made me feel old, Springsteen, I mentioned Born the Run the other day. That was 1975. That was 50 years ago, a half a century ago.
Yeah, I thought you knew it when you said it. Yeah.
Well, I did, but I didn't. I knew it, but I didn't process it.
Right.
See, I'm old.
Yeah.
And so I'm
50 years ago. I was 9. I was 9 years old. It's crazy.
Because I can still remember I went to Buffalo State College.
Yeah.
And when you go to Buffalo State College back then, I don't know what it is like now. They changed the name of it to Buffalo State University on Elmwood, whatever. I don't know. It
actually says whatever on the sign.
They changed they changed the name of it so I don't even know why they changed the name of it, but it doesn't I guess conflict anybody's mind with the University of Buffalo, which is different. But
right.
There were a bunch of people from New York City would come there, and I'll never forget. Man, Springsteen's got a new album. You got to hear it. Yeah, right. It's the Springsteen album. And Alan's looking at me. Well, he knows it, the whole Jersey thing.
Yeah.
And by the way, Alan was on vacation last week on the Jersey beach and saw no seashells. No. I know we saw that. You said that yesterday.
No formations whatsoever.
All right, so getting back here, staying on track.
Yeah.
I'm an old man. The mind wanders. This is Ezekiel Emanuel on Morning Joe. Did I slur there?
I think you did.
Did I slur? Give me another shot.
I think you said Emanuel.
Give me another shot of vodka.
Yeah. We're in Texas. Go tequila.
I was on the plane last week. I got a water, before the plane took off.
Yeah.
And these people that I knew were walking by me, and they said, "You got a cocktail already?" And I went, "Yep, pure vodka. That's what you get."
That's right. Full glass of it.
Full glass of pure vodka.
That's what you get up here. Now, keep moving.
But Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel, the architect of Obamacare, an absolute liberal, here's what he had to say about Joe Biden and the cancer diagnosis on Morning Joe on MSNBC yesterday.
if this prostate cancer has spread to the bone, that he could have had it for up to a decade, but certainly it's likely, would it be fair to say, it's likely to have had this for at least several years?
Oh, more than several years. You don't get prostate cancer.
So again, I just want to stop you. So this is not speculation. If you have prostate cancer that is spread to the bone, then he's most certainly, you are saying, had it when he was president of the United States.
Oh, yeah. He did not develop it in the last 100, 200 days. He had it while he was president. He probably had it at the start of his presidency in 2021. Yes, that I don't think there's any disagreement about that.
That, remember, the whole point is that's MSNBC.
Yeah.
And so...
Well, you saw the NPR headline that, you know, they said something to the effect, I'll find it. Trump alleges that Biden knew of his cancer while he was president without citing any evidence. Basically, you know, Trump was just going off without any facts to back it up. And here we have Morning Joe with Dr. Emanuel, Rahm's brother, by the way.
Yes.
And saying, yeah, there's no way he didn't have the cancer. Now, the question would be, did he know it? Was he diagnosed? Well, he's going to a doctor. He's got a White House doctor. In fact, he's got a doctor in the building. Is there a doctor in the house? At the White House? Yes.
Well, I was watching, I saw part of Megyn Kelly's podcast, and she had Dr. David Samadi on, a renowned prostate cancer doctor, who said what they gave you last week, that they just discovered it, can't be true based on what you would know to get to that particular point.
Oh, okay. Yeah. If you're getting, if you're going to the doctor on a regular basis and they find it, yes, exactly.
Right.
They would know ahead of time because they'd see the markers ahead of time.
And the other thing he said, but what they announced of what they knew that it will respond to hormonal treatment.
Yeah.
They don't know that unless you've been in there and actually responded to the hormonal treatment. In order for him to, you know, this responds to hormonal treatment, you know, that what they're saying, they don't know until they do it. Each case is individual.
Yeah, they know it's hormonal related. They won't know if it responds to hormonal treatment.
Right. Well, but they said it will.
Right.
And he said that shows.
They were saying it definitely will.
That it will respond. Right. He said the only way that they could know that is they've gone through the process of getting to that point, which takes a period of time. So they just didn't find it out.
Right.
And so, but the whole thing, and again, feel terrible for Biden. You know, it's I know people that have died from, you know, prostate cancer. I know people that have had major prostate, you know, problems. But the political end of this has got nothing to do with Biden. If his cognitive abilities has been gone for as long as we believe it has been, it's the people that are surrounding him. And the question that came up the other day from one of the Democrats strategists out there, who said, well, this might tamper it down a little bit. And Mark Halperin and other Democrats said, no, it won't. This is going to make it, this is going to blow this thing up.
Because specifically of the treatment, which is the earlier point on the treatment, that if that treatment, the hormonal treatment, started while he was president, then that could be behind what drove a cognitive decline.
Yes.
And so it actually ramps up. You and I covered this yesterday, but we know a lot of people, may not have heard the show yesterday. By the way, you can listen on the podcast or to the podcast. It's always on the app. But we made the point, and it bears repeating here, that this actually ramps up the curiosity of and the very valid question that every American should be asking. This is beyond political, because we have a then sitting commander-in-chief had serious cognitive issues, used the auto pen way too often, and the American people deserve to know who drove that behavior, who acted outside their authority. We go back to that December of, December of 23?
Yeah.
Attack on these Iran-backed militias, including Hezbollah in Iraq. And you and I were going, well, wait a minute. How did that happen when the president, we didn't see anything. He didn't come to the podium. They didn't issue a statement. Nobody said anything. The commander-in-chief was missing in action. And then keep in mind, that was the same amount of time, that was the same period of time where his defense secretary, Lloyd Austin, at the time, went under surgery and had to go back on January 1st of 24 to go under the knife because of complications from that surgery, also related to prostate cancer. And we were asking, well, wait a minute. If your SecDef is not part of that entire mission, if the commander-in-chief isn't part of that entire mission, who's running the show? Who's making the calls? And the American people deserve to know the answers. On every level now, this diagnosis opens everything up.
Yeah, well, and again, what you're looking at is, let's be blunt, a shadow government. That the president was not fully cognitive, did not have the ability to run the presidency, and so people around him were making those decisions and not the president of the United States.
Right.
This makes it, and you think about it over the last, since 2016, the Russia collusion hoax and this, two of the biggest scandals in American presidential history.
Yep. Yeah.
And,
I mean, if there is ever a case for puppeteering here, this would be it.
Well, and what I've noticed is there is zero pushback from any Democrat right now for the Republicans pounding on this, but it's just not the Republicans pounding on it. Liberals are pounding on it. Democrats are pounding on it. We can't do it. We'll have the story. Bernie Sanders on a podcast yesterday when he said, the podcast said, well, the Democrats are a threat to democracy. And he said, I agree. I mean, it's just like you can't. There is no. It's almost as if to the point.
And by the way, that's when he uses his independent cred, right? He's an independent.
Did Trump totally just destroy them completely? Because I have not seen any pushback in the last couple of days.
No.
You had the one, I can't think of his name, the one Democratic operative, I just got mind blank here, he was there during Obama, came on and said, well, maybe this will temper things down a little bit, and there'll be a little bit of a break about this. And it was, again, Mark Halperin and what others said, no way. No
Was
way.
It Axelrod that said it?
Axelrod said it. Thank you.
That's
easily forgettable, though.
It's the kind of like Ezekiel Emanuel. Wow, he looks old. But it's the, again, that's how you know. We've been doing this long enough. You know when the pushback gets loud, right? When everyone on the left seems in unison, no, this didn't happen. No, this wasn't a problem. You don't have any proof of this didn't. Okay, none of that is going on right now. You know, one of the things, too, I thought I saw somebody on Sunday, late Sunday evening, saying, wow, Jake Tapper's book, and all of that is going to kind of go by the wayside. No. Let me, Your Honor, enter this into as Exhibit A, the book from Jake Tapper. This is part of it. The entire thing of him, the cover-up and all of that. My gosh, I kind of said to you, I don't know if it was on the air or off the air. The show just continues when the mics are turned off. But it was the other day, I think it was last week sometime, I said, I wouldn't be surprised to see Jake Tapper testifying before Congress at some point.
You're right. Yeah,
because if you're the thing about
author,
being the authority, because that's really what he's taken on now. We started writing this book the day after the election. I bet you did. Now you're the authority, Jake. Let's swear you in.
He profited on enabling the secret, and then he profits by starting to expose some of the secrets.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
I stole that from somebody. I saw that headline yesterday, so I don't want to be accused of plagiarism.
Yeah. No, but it's true.
But I guess I am because I don't remember where I saw it.
Yeah, well,
but it was out there.
Yeah. Somebody else did it.
Somebody else did it.
It's not ours.
Yes.
Yeah. But, and you don't even have to get to the point of him revealing his sources.
No.
Although, the way things are going now, he may not have to. They may reveal themselves.
It's true.
Wow.
Well, here's the publisher and Jake Tapper, yesterday. Yes.
Oh.
We can sell more books.
Oh, yes! No. That's it. When I was seeing it Sunday night, I was like, no. I mean, it becomes the story for the day, but the sub-headline really is the book. You need to go get the book. Jeez.
866-90-RED-EYE.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. When it comes to truck maintenance, sometimes it's the little things that can cause the most trouble, like cabin air filters. When properly serviced, cabin air filters provide a barrier between pollutants and harmful particles outside and your HVAC system. If you don't pay attention to them, however, this small part can turn into big trouble in no time. Breathe easy when you know how often to get your filters replaced. Long-haul drivers should replace their cabin air filters every 50,000 miles, or according to the manufacturer's recommendations. If you operate in dusty environments, consider servicing your cabin air filters more often.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just looking at some headlines. Washington Republicans need to wake up on deficits.
Yeah.
Were things exceptionally quiet last night from that front?
Yeah, they really were eerily quiet.
Very quiet.
You know what? It's like, when your spouse goes shopping and you don't hear from them for days. That kind of shopping trip, where they're spending more money. My wife actually doesn't do this. My wife is the most frugal person on the planet that I know. I actually have to encourage her to go spend money. But, when they're spending more money is when they get quiet. Now the question, though, you and I talked about it because I like Chip Roy. I'm with Chip Roy. I don't live in his district. By the way, I wish I did. And that's the kind of the southern portion of the hill country, a lot of the hill country in that district. Very beautiful part of our state in Texas. But I think to myself, also parts of San Antonio and West Austin. But inevitably, do you get to where, because remember in the budget committee, he voted present. Right? Does he get to a point where he softens, or even he softens? I don't know that you get a yes out of him. But the question is, do they have other Republicans, enough Republicans to go around him and allow him to vote either no or present on the final bill, would be the question. But it's way too quiet right now.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Friday Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. Well, the Department of Homeland Security's first charter flight for illegal immigrants who have agreed to self-deport departed yesterday. The Trump administration offering $1,000 to illegal immigrants who agree to leave the country voluntarily. Under the deal, the illegal immigrants can register to self-deport through the home app and are given travel assistance, $1,000, and 3 weeks to organize their affairs here in the United States. 64 citizens of Colombia and Honduras took the administration's up on its offer for the first flight, which left out of Houston yesterday. This was a voluntary charter flight, not an Immigration and Customs Enforcement operation, DHS said. All participants were offered the same benefits as any illegal alien who self-deports using the CBP home app. They received travel assistance, a $1,000 stipend, and preserve the possibility that they could one day return to the United States legally. In Honduras, deportees are eligible for $100 in government assistance and food vouchers, DHS said. The self-deportation program was first announced in March, while Monday's flight was the first that the administration had charted to return self-deportees to their home countries. The administration had previously paid for some illegal immigrants to return home on commercial airliners. So there you go. So, yeah. It'll be interesting to see how that goes now that they publicized it and said, okay, it worked out for these people. They actually got the cash. And they went back.
Yeah, and then inevitably the question comes up, well, what keeps them from coming back illegally? Well, it's the promise of being able to come here legally at some point in the future. And you may say, well, if they don't care about that. Well, no, you're right. They might play the system totally. They might get back there, get on the ground, stay there a few weeks, get their stipend, and then at some point come back here illegally. That's always a risk you're going to take. But there are a number of people who understand, I think, especially since the Biden years and now with the second Trump term, that the American people don't want an open border. The American people don't want anyone coming here illegally. So if there is that political will, when it looked like in 2020, in the election season of 2020, Biden was making campaign promises. He made it come back. If Trump deported you, we want you back. And then we all know all the images and videos from the International Bridge in Del Rio and the common thread in the answers to the question, why are you here? Because Biden asked us to come back. Biden asked us to come over. The word had gotten out, and they were very effective at this. The Biden campaign was very effective at, we want you back here, getting the word out internationally, come here.
Yep.
I think Trump's win in November, I can't measure this. I don't have any polls to cite. But certainly it sets a different tone because it is the will of the people. Now, you may say, well, in 2020, it was the will of the people. We'll see. Now, the things have turned drastically. When we saw our borders overrun, I think it changed a lot of hearts and minds. And I think it changed them for a while. I think what you're seeing right now, quite possibly, maybe, hopefully, is people who want to come here, all right, but I need to do that legally, and if I do that legally, then I can work, and then I can improve my life for my family, or whatever you want to do, for those, again, who just want to come here legally. One of the issues that we focused on is the gang members and the people who have no concern at all for the law in their country or ours. And they want to come here. They're associated with, this is one of the problems that CBP and law agencies have had with foreign gang members coming here is there are plenty of associates that don't necessarily have the tattoos on their hands or anything else, but they work and assist these gangs and the cartels and work for them silently, but they assimilate into society here in the States. I don't know how you ever solve that problem except for, law enforcement. I mean, you just have to do those investigations based on, again, the activity, the behavior of those individuals, and if they're breaking the law and who you find them to be associated with when they're on American soil.
Well, you never solve the crime problem.
No.
But you never solve people from doing bad things, but you attempt to limit its impact.
Right.
And send a message that if you do break the law, you will pay the price for it. You'll be held accountable for it.
Right.
Reading here yesterday, because this was a surprise because of the vote in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court delivered, this is from Jonathan Turley, the Supreme Court delivered a win for the administration yesterday by lifting the injunction on the move to terminate temporary protected status protections for hundreds of thousands of people allowed in the country by Biden from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. A California district judge had blocked the move, and the Ninth Circuit refused to lift the injunction. It will now go back to the Ninth Circuit for resolution on the merits. Only Justice Jackson dissented in the order today, but that's because she doesn't know what an illegal immigrant is.
She doesn't know what a woman is.
Right.
Doesn't know what an illegal immigrant is.
She doesn't know anything.
Right,
So
yeah,
she's
exactly.
just, if you don't know what a woman is, then you really don't know much.
Exactly.
But it said, notably, while the statute states that this special status could be assigned on a case-by-case basis, the Biden administration unlawfully adopted a wholesale policy granting temporary parole to hundreds of thousands of individuals from those four countries. Yet the district court would have required case-by-case determinations to end the status. The law, however, barred review of these determinations, notwithstanding any other provision of the law. No court shall have jurisdiction to review any other decision or action of the Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security, the authority for which is specified under this title to be in the discretion of the Attorney General or the Secretary of Homeland Security, other than granting of the relief. The administration was open about its desire to remove these individuals before they accrued over 2 years of continuous presence, as that would trigger a longer removal process. The language underlying the special status is highly deferential to the government. The status as parolees is temporary and can be terminated in the view of the administration. These parolees brought this challenge in one of the most liberal circuits of the country and could still prevail in the Ninth Circuit. It would then be back to the Supreme Court for a review of the merits of that if the Ninth Circuit said it can go. So that is a victory. But when you see that it was 8-1, that's really interesting.
Well,
I would not have expected that.
Yeah, no, I didn't expect that from Sotomayor or Kagan. But it kind of tells you where we are. We think this is why we've been saying all along, many of these cases, Trump wants them to get to the Supreme Court because it needs to be clearly defined what is what on a number of issues, but especially with the border. When it comes to the border, everything is paramount. And also, too, you have to, even those left-leaning justices here, understand how these cities were overrun, how every town became a border town, and how, sorry, but it wasn't Greg Abbott's fault or Governor DeSantis who did it, to some degree. Actually, the Biden administration was responsible for busing more of them than either of those two governors. Yeah. But, of course, Greg Abbott made the headlines because he's a conservative governor of Texas. But they understand that. And I have to wonder if that comes into play, where you understand, look, We can't have this. We can talk all day. I know liberals would say, well, we can talk all day about comprehensive immigration reform. I hate those words, by the way. I hate those words because you and I are old enough to have heard them way too many times. You know what I mean? It's just annoying. It's just annoying. It's like saying, it is what it is. Those are things that it just, it gets under my skin because comprehensive would mean that you're going to seal your borders. Well, not to them. It means you're going to let more people in. And, we'll look at the border thing later. But things have changed. The polls showed that in 24, which goes to my earlier point. The polls were, neck and neck. The economy, which was, driven by, of course, the concern driven by record inflation for a generation, and the broken border. Those two things were neck and neck for the top issue. So maybe it shouldn't be so surprising that it was an 8-1 in this case. We'll see where it goes down the road. I think they, and we know this about Sotomayor because she's actually said it, and it was recorded. She's an activist from the bench, but I think there's certain things you just can't get around. Certain things you just can't, go down that activist road. They may try to. They may bring it up and issue some comments during hearings, but ultimately on the decision, the law is the law. The authority is the authority. And it will be interesting to see where it goes from here. One of the things we have to remind ourselves on the border overall is that President Trump has promoted in the past, and we know it was his first term, and things have changed since then, and Biden changed a lot of those things with his actions. But Trump has talked about, he's said it since he's been president during the second term. We want people to come here legally. He's said that. Mm-hmm. We still think politically with the rank and file, it's a bit too early, but I don't think that's beyond the horizon. I think there is a time, maybe in the not too distant future, where the American people can regroup and say, okay, Trump did a good job coming in a matter of weeks, sealing the border, getting deportations in order, and enforcing the border laws that were already on the books. As Trump said, turns out we didn't need new laws. We just needed a new president.
Didn't Scott Jennings get in a debate with that the other? Well, now it's time for the comprehensive immigration reform.
Yeah.
And he said, Jennings was like, why?
Right.
The border is closed.
Right.
The border is closed. We have, record low numbers of people crossing the border. People are leaving the country. Mm-hmm. We're deporting people that are here illegally. Mm-hmm. We have people that are voluntarily now leaving the country, and we have a legal immigration process.
Yeah.
So what are you talking about? What do you want in comprehensive immigration reform? Well, open borders.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
or
exactly.
Reopen the border.
Well, that's it. I mean, I think if you had the realistic conversation, if there is such a thing today, with the rank and file American on changing or increasing the number of work visas, you could start that conversation. Maybe not right now, but soon, and start reviewing that. But in terms of the left going back to what the left wants, that's the problem. The give and take in reviewing that, and of course with the makeup of the House and the Senate, it all gets muddied. And next thing you know, we're allowing too many people across every day that aren't coming here for work.
866-90 Red Eye.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Okay, so what's the whole budget deal here from Republicans? We'll get to that coming up here in just a little bit. Things a little bit quiet yesterday, even though you had some conservatives come out and say, well, no, it really doesn't cut it here at this moment. I was reading an analysis in National Review, $6 million in new spending, $1 trillion, that's in over 10 years, and $1 trillion in cuts, which means over 10 years, this bill from Republicans increase from what the baseline was by $5 trillion over 10 years.
Wow. Wow.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Did you see on social media with the tornadoes and stuff along the around the Midwest, and you could see on social media Democrats were screaming, saying that these tornadoes hit because the National Weather Service didn't have enough people. It's like false.
Yeah,
National Weather Service came out and said they had enough. Let's listen to this here from the Kentucky governor, who was asked a question on MSNBC about FEMA's response.
Yeah.
Okay, because this is really, just look how they slanted. Here we go.
You've been complimentary of that. You've been complimentary of FEMA. The fact also is that FEMA's programs built to help recover from damage, to help survivors, has been cut pretty significantly. How confident are you that the financial help you need will be there?
Well, I'm very concerned about the future of FEMA, very concerned about the future of the National Weather Service, which tells us about these in advance. But I do want to reiterate that our current reality is that the president has approved our requests from the last two major disaster declarations. And their FEMA operation on the ground is one of the best I've seen. And that's why I think it needs to continue.
There you go. The best we've seen.
Yeah.
And there's been nothing at all. I mean, that was all completely and totally debunked. But I wanted to play that because I saw that yesterday a lot on social media. Democrats were trying to get something, so it was like, he's cutting, we get no help.
Yeah.
It's like, well,
right.
that actually is not true.
You've seen a lot of that, by the way, in headlines about various things. Trump's cuts mean that certain people will miss out on, whatever it is. Certain services won't be there when you need them. This is the ongoing, again, Trump is bad, by the way. The worst thing they can say about Trump right now is he's cutting. That's how bad it's gotten. When the worst it was, it went from he's a Russian agent to he's cutting the budget.
Oh, and you saw Schumer tried to blame Trump for cuts to the Coast Guard as the reason that the ship hit the Mexican ship hit the Brooklyn Bridge.
Yeah. Couldn't be that the ship had a power problem and a malfunction and got caught in the currents. It couldn't be that. By the way, also, it was a Mexican Navy ship. I don't think we controlled their budget. Oh, my gosh.
Well,
it's
being a Mexican Navy ship and looking at the technology, I have a feeling they are no threat to the American Navy.
Well, I'm guessing not.
Somebody's going to take me serious.
Well,
come on, that wasn't really a naval ship.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was a training vessel. So they said one of the issues,
the Mexican wind-powered Navy.
Well, no, I was going to say, remember that artist rendering, the illustration that it was on some article. I think I saved it. I got it bookmarked somewhere. and it was years ago, and it was this new
Cargo ship.
wind-powered cargo ship.
It's called a sailboat. It's like the new technology.
We have
Wind-powered cargo ship. And they were like, of course, there were like more advanced sails.
Well,
but it was
that's the thing.
It was
It's
simply.
like, it's not new tech. It's new sail technology. Yeah. Maybe you could make that case.
But it's a sailboat.
Solar-powered sails. How does that work? We don't even know.
Very flexible solar panels.
Solar-powered wind driving. I don't even know. They'll get to it. And it'll be locally sourced and fair trade.
Well, then there was the self-steering cargo ship that had about 5,000 people on it with big oars.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Manually powered.
It's a jobs program.
Yes, exactly. It's a ship that's off the grid.
It's off the grid cargo ship.
We use what's called paddles and 5,000 people to move it forward.
Nobody with the cost of shipping, Trump can drop the tariffs immediately if they go to that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
The human ship.
Right. Human powered. The human powered to facilitate locally sourced and fair trade organic materials.
You know, something else just popped into my head because I read this story that said the left doesn't care about climate change anymore. There's no protests. There's no nothing.
Yeah.
Greta's gone. She's moved on to defending terrorists. It's like, well, climate change, whatever. What else can I jump behind that's not going to go anywhere? I think I'll start supporting Hamas.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. We need children for Hamas. Okay, teens. Was she in her 20s now? I don't even know how old she is.
I think she's got to be, I was going to say in her 40s. I'm probably wrong about that, and I'm bad at math.
She can't be in her 30s or 40s because the earth would be gone.
Yeah. The only reason I say that is I saw a meme the other day with an older, did someone send that to me or I just saw it? I got to look and see.
Oh, yes.
It has the older version of her through AI, unless she's not aging well. I think it was AI. And I forget what the meme was. I'm old enough to remember when people cared about the planet. And it's this old lady, but it's Greta. It's AI.
Yes, I've seen it, yeah.
And I was like, where do I know that lady? Oh, that's Greta.
But it was an interesting article saying the left, what do they stand for right now? They're so quiet on everything, and now with the dropping of the impeachment, I know Al Green came out, oh, wait, we can't drop the impeachment. We need to impeach him.
Yeah.
They don't have any issues. They're hoping for a recession. But right now, they have no issues. And the article was based on the fact that nobody's protesting over climate change anymore. There is no buzz. Nobody cares. And it's like, and the point of the article was, what does the left really care about? Is everything performance art, or do they actually believe in something? Now, we could throw the same thing to Republicans and the debt, but
no,
we will here.
I think I was thinking about this the other day on our drive home, because I really think the performance art is all they have, right? You're looking to make something go viral, because what have they been about? They've been about the popularity contest for the longest time, about personality, but a lot of that is driven by identity politics. But in today's age, you make the social media buzz, but you can't do that on the issues if you're on the left, because too many people, if you were to actually get down and discuss the issues, wouldn't agree with you. And so it's the performance art. I think they believe, just a theory, they believe the performance art is actually going to be what carries them, people will like me because they like my TikTok, and it's all the time. Hunter Biden's going, you know what? They've got TikTok. I was owned by China at one point. I can't believe I can't believe they're popular on TikTok. But this is the whole play because you can't. What you'll notice, by the way, and I think it's just my algorithm, with YouTube Shorts, with TikTok videos that come up, when it's like our friend Ben Shapiro or someone on Rogan or some conservative making a point, Jordan Peterson quite often, and they make a point and stuff like that goes viral, that are actual points on actual issues, and that stuff goes viral. That's going viral for a reason, and what I like about it is it's the overwhelming majority, I won't say all of it, the overwhelming majority of it is not fake. It's edited down for the little 15, 30-second, length or whatever, but it's points actually made by a Jordan Peterson or by a conservative, a critical thinker, and those things go viral. Well, I think the left looks at those. Remember what they were saying after the election? We need a Joe Rogan. You had the Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And the reason they say that is because those are the things. I mean, think about this. Theo Vaughn was at inauguration ceremony in 2025. I mean, and I like Theo Vaughn, but that's how everything turned. And it wasn't because Theo Vaughn is some, staunch conservative. First of all, he's very funny, but he had Trump on, he had J.D. Vance on, he had some other people on from the right, and those things went viral, and that works. I mean, that's knowing the medium, right? Knowing where to place your stuff. Where the left has lost it is they still think it's a popularity contest. Here's what I think they miss. They're in a popularity contest where they're not just competing with people on the right or other Democrats. You're competing with anybody who has their own TikTok page or their own social media page, which is everybody. Think about that. Every person thinks they're the most popular or wants to be the most popular person on social media. But the left thinks that they can do that. Now, do they have a more prominent name if they're a lawmaker? Maybe.
Well, how I see it is, again, and I go back to this, you have a Republican Party. Now, I'm just throwing out a number. It could be lower, could be higher. But the vast majority of people that support the Republican Party probably agree with 70% of what the Republicans do.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who supports the Democratic Party, if you get down to the specific issues, the issues that Trump is winning, as he said the other day, was it 97-3?
Yeah.
It's not 80-10.
Right.
It's 90 or 80-20. It's 97-3.
Mm-hmm.
But you're dealing with a party that actually doesn't support what the Democrats are doing.
Right.
Everything is about imagery. Everything is about identity.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can see right now, they are politically impotent.
They really are.
They really, I mean, there's no issue out there at all that they're really winning on at all. Now, people are waiting to see what happens to the economy and the tariffs. There may be apprehension there, but that's more of a waiting period. But the Democrats just, they don't have anything. And Trump moves so quickly on different issues that they just can't keep up. And, we saw yesterday, I'm waiting for the outrage on social media for that New Jersey congresswoman who has, been charged.
Yeah.
For being at the ICE facility for assault, and we'll get to the specific charges here in a little bit. And I haven't seen the left go crazy.
No, they didn't. They really didn't. I think they expected when when all that went down, I think those Democrats thought, well, the rest of the party's going to come to our defense, and that didn't really happen.
No, and then on I think with the whole Biden thing and then the cancer thing coming in, and some of the worst criticism that you're seeing and analysis is coming from CNN and MSNBC.
Yeah, it really is.
With Ezekiel Emanuel,
really
we played that audio cut earlier.
Right.
And they're going, what can we win at all?
Right.
Which the worst thing for all of this is the whole thing of Donald Trump being anti-democratic has been blown out of the water. I mean, Bernie Sanders yesterday, we'll have the audio coming up, where he said, I agree when they said the Democratic Party is a threat to democracy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're seeing more of it over the Democrats talking and saying, look at it. And election after election over the last election cycles here, we've been the ones that have not promoted democracy within our own party.
Right. Yep. Well, that's the thing. It's interesting. By the way, they have a long history of doing this popularity contest. Think of Clinton on Arsenio Hall with sunglasses playing the saxophone badly. Obama.
The peak was Obama, really.
It really was. Yeah. And, the hope and change thing, which is basically, here's a blank canvas. You come up with whatever you think hope and change is, and that's going to be our promise. And which, by the way, worked. But the euphoria also of electing the first black president. Sorry, Bill Clinton, you're not the first black president. And that's really how that all went down. So if you think about it, they're still counting on doing a popularity contest, and now it's through social media and this performance art.
We'll talk more about this coming up, 866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Smart owner-operators make every single week as profitable as possible. One trip is not enough time to be considered profitable or unprofitable, and an entire month may be too much time to manage. 1 week is the right amount of time to deal with efficiently. To do so, look at the advantages and disadvantages of every day of the week. Match trip length to the optimum day of the week. Plan to deliver on the day you have the best opportunity of getting a load. Your personal weekly plan will vary depending on the weekly delivery flow cycle of your region, typical length of haul, personal requirements, and other factors. What's important is to have a specific weekly plan that helps you be successful. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Because when talking about, where the Democratic Party is and the Republican Party, the Democrats right now have nothing. And I think this whole thing with Biden and now, whether it's MSNBC or CNN, Democrats really aren't defending, and nobody's even saying anymore, well, you can't talk about this because this is a sensitive topic because Biden has cancer. The whole thing goes to when you've got Ezekiel Emanuel on there saying, no, he had it for years. He had it for years.
Yeah.
Then the cover-up, you start asking. There's just so many questions that go along with it, as we've seen. And this is from watching CNN and MSNBC. Didn't even watch Fox. I was amazed because my whole thing was, all right, how are they going to handle it? Are they going to have some type of defense? Are they going to figure out something? And they can't. You think about it, the biggest controversy right now with the Democrats, it's not Trump anymore because that's blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. It's David Hogg.
Yeah, it really is.
It's like we got to get rid of the people that are ahead of the DNC that we just voted in. We went through the entire DEI process and ended up with 2 white males. We can't have that. And, you've got David Hogg out there saying, well, we're not going to change on the issues. We just need fresh blood to sell it. We need better imagery.
Right.
We're not going to change it. We're 97.3 on the issues.
Yeah.
We just need somebody to take that 3 and take it to a 7.
Right. It's like, exactly.
I mean, it's
and right now with the GOP, what is the infighting about? It's about spending, which, by the way, is a healthy fight. It's on issues. It's at least on a key issue. And I think, by the way, one of the reasons it may have been quiet on Monday is Moody's downgrading on Friday, I think that sent a shockwave to the House, and hopefully the non-fiscal conservatives were listening, that we got to get our fiscal house in order, because it's only a matter of time before we can no longer manage the interest alone on the national debt. We can't do that. We have to get things in order, and we'll see where it goes.
You saw the combination of Moody's, and we added to that.
Yeah.
Too was the QE starting up again.
Yes.
Quantitative easing.
Right.
Of the Fed printing money to buy more of the debt.
Right.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Now, this goes back to Sunday before they made the deal. Before they made the deal. Before they got it passed through committee.
Yeah.
We still don't know the specifics on anything, but this comes from National Review. The House plan has a net tax cut of about $6 trillion over 10 years, including interest cost and assuming temporary breaks become permanent. And it has net spending cuts of somewhat more than $1 trillion with interest savings. If that is the final package, the federal debt held by the public will soar from $30 trillion this year to about $55 trillion by 2034. That's $5 trillion more than under the current baseline. Yes, the bill has 2 redeeming features. It extends expiring provisions of the 2017 tax cuts, preventing a major tax hike on working Americans. It also holds a line against Bernie Sanders-style tax increases on high earners and small businesses, but that's where the good news ends. This is not tax reform. It's a political spending spree wrapped up in tax cut ribbon. There's barely any Medicaid reform, not even immediate work requirements. Now, that may have changed. We don't know with the agreement.
We were told over the weekend it may have been moved forward, or they were working on moving. They had the framework and the outline to move it forward.
And forget about other health care subsidies. Republicans are either capitulating to left-wing talking points or protecting special interest. Worse, the bill rebrands crony giveaways as pro-growth policy with tip and overtime carve-outs, MAGA savings accounts, student loan breaks, low-income housing subsidies, and more, all which distort incentives, invite tax gaming, and make the code more complex and less neutral. The structure of the tax code remains broken. Growth-enhancing reform bills like full expensing are still temporary, leaving long-term investment and productivity gains on the table. And don't forget about the shameful spectacle, Republicans demanding a $124,000 SALT deduction carve-out, a blatant handout to wealthy blue state homeowners funded by taxpayers in middle America. And I'm reading here, this is Bishop, on the big, beautiful bill. I spent 5 years in Congress. I waited for an opportunity like this. This bill has $1.6 trillion in savings, and by that measure, it's the best that's been advanced to this point since 1997. Dan Bishop, the OMB director, that's a lie.
Yeah.
What he is saying is that the spending cut, we're saving $1.6 trillion. He doesn't talk about the fact that they're going to spend $6 trillion more. It doesn't mean anything if you have savings, but you're increasing the debt $5 trillion over the baseline in 10 years.
Yeah.
It makes it worse. That's the problem that we have, and Republicans and the president have no interest in solving this problem at all as of right now.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember Doge. Remember that whole concept?
Yeah. Doge is dead.
It's over. I said it then, and it was the day, the last cabinet meeting, I think it was his last day that Elon Musk was at. It was his last day there at the White House. I know he's traveled He went to the Middle East for that summit, that business summit over there. But I said that night when we came on the air after that cabinet meeting, Doge is done. They're closing the door on it for a reason, because it went from $2 trillion to $1.45 trillion to $1 trillion to $150 billion to $100 billion, maybe. And now, here we are. Let's add $5 trillion over the next several years. Yeah, why not? Way to go, GOP. And I don't know how, honestly, again.
And by the way, nobody is debating Chip Roy. Nobody is debating any of the Republicans that are saying they're not. Nobody's saying they're just, what did the president against Chip Roy said? Did you see Chip Roy said they're going to call us grandstanders, and Trump came out and said the people that wouldn't vote for it last week, they're grandstanders. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, Chip Roy had that exactly right.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, if they know, because this is what we said, it's a very, very simple process here. The rank and file Republican, or Republican voter, they don't care. They're not. They may say they're concerned about it. They're not making any calls. Chip Roy's district is, clearly. Most people in most districts that are GOP voters, they don't care. Our audience notwithstanding, we're a small group now. We're carved out of the herd. We might as well all move to Chip Roy's district. Gary, you could probably change districts. That wouldn't be a bad idea. He lives in Jasmine Crockett's district, by the way, for those that don't know. And for those that do, we'll remind you. But it's just at a point now where, again, in the era of Doge, wow, how short-lived was that fireworks show?
And as I have here, you notice they don't talk about big cuts anymore. By the way, Doge, when it comes to adding new equipment, making these departments more efficient, that seems to be the one good thing that came out of it.
Sure.
But all the promises that came, we called them on it, and we were criticized when we did, but we were right. There wasn't going to be $2 trillion.
Right.
We said probably it's not going to be $1 trillion. We said if they get $100 billion, that would be fantastic. But if they get, right now they're saying $160 billion a year, but they're going to be spending $660 billion more.
Yeah.
A year. Goes, the Senate now has a choice. This is from National Review. The Senate now has a choice. Double down on this mess or clean it up. This means making expensing permanent, scrapping carve-outs, and building a simpler, more growth-friendly system because the stakes are enormous. Everyone in Washington admits it now. We're on a disastrous fiscal path. The national debt is racing past $36 trillion. Annual deficits are near $2 trillion. Interest payments are set to eclipse defense spending. And that's the rosy scenario. For too long, lawmakers believed low interest rates were permanent, but the era of cheap debt is over. Long-term Treasury yields have hovered about 4% for years, driven not just by inflation or Fed policy, but by the debt burden itself. New research shows that the CBO drastically underestimates how rising debt drives up interest rates. The real impact is 2 to 3 times higher than the CBO projects. That means much higher borrowing costs are ahead. If rates settle closer to 5.5% instead of the CBO's 3.8% forecast, debt service will explode, triggering a vicious cycle of rising deficits, rising interest payments, and rising inflation risk as markets begin to doubt Washington's will to stabilize the debt without relying on the Fed. And what are Republicans doing in response? Not targeting the $26 trillion in tax expenditures, not ending wasteful programs, not repealing open-ended regulatory statutes, not even trying to claw back Biden's bloated spending. Instead, they're gearing up to pass a reheated tax bill that's more about optics than growth, and that will make our debt crisis worse. And again, so they just talk about savings that they found, and they just ignore the spending,
Right.
as Dan Bishop did yesterday.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, let's just – the Republicans wish to be BS'd. The Republicans wish to be BS'd by the Republican Party now. That's what they're hoping. The Republicans only care about what we can get now, not about future generations, not about, again, how the debt's already affected us with inflation. The inflation we've seen, the inflation we've seen is exactly because the Republicans now wish to follow what the Democrats did before.
Right. And with interest rates the way they are, the interest on the debt is going to continue to grow and be a massive, much greater chunk every year. And at some point, we won't be able to get on top of it. Hey, let's go shopping. Oh, it seems like a good idea. We're not willing to shut it down. TARP 1 we did at the end of 2008. Remember that? Shutting down the phones. That used to be a thing when people cared. Calling your representative. Gary, you should call your representative. And tell her to vote no on the bill. Oh, wait. I'm guessing she's going to vote no on the bill. I don't even know how to process that.
Fiscal conservative Jasmine Crockett.
Said nobody ever. Oh, my gosh. This is totally upside down.
Well, it was interesting because I saw Democrats talking about it yesterday on MSNBC.
Yeah.
I think it was on Morning Joe. They were saying, this is going to explode the debt. It's going to explode the debt. The only thing is they're talking to an audience that really doesn't care.
They don't care.
They really don't care.
Yeah.
They only care for the optics of, okay, we can hit the Republicans.
Pretend for the moment,
on this. But, it's...
it's just, this is the insanity, though. People don't care. If they did, we'd know. It wouldn't be just Chip Roy up there shouting. It would be others in the GOP. And they would be telling the world, I'm voting no. And the answer will be no until we actually make cuts.
And the only thing that surprises me a little bit is the fact that the American public has felt it through inflation. All the inflation that we've seen, all of it, is because of government policy of spending too much money and of spending too much and borrowing too much. And as we know, the quantitative easing.
Yeah.
Which was the Fed, which they're back to doing again last week. They called it, was it $48.3 billion they printed in order to buy Treasury bills.
Right.
They're trying to do everything to keep those interest rates lower.
Right.
And as we said last night, you say it was down to 4.4 something because the 10-year rose to 4.5.
Right. Yesterday during the day it was at 4.46. Right now, let's see here, it's still at 4.46. Yeah. So, I mean, again, and that's what I think there is great concern by the Treasury. I think there's great concern by the administration on the Treasury, but on the 10-year, I just don't know how you're going to turn the bond market around without true fiscal sanity. We're not going to get there. Not going to happen.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Here it is. Bernie Sanders admitted that the Democratic Party is a threat to democracy. As some argue, they have not had a fair primary election since 2008. This during an appearance on Andrew Schultz's Flagrant podcast. Schultz, a podcaster, actor, and comedian who's identified himself as a lifelong Democrat, explained how disappointed he was with Sanders' endorsement of Hilary Clinton in the 2016 presidential election. He also pointed to the greater picture of Democratic voters feeling as though they have truly not gotten a say in who their nominee would be over the last several election cycles, as many wanted Sanders, who was viewed as an agent for radical change. However, the Democratic Party seemed to step in and quash his charges. We felt like over the last 4 elections, Democrats felt like we didn't have a say of who could be president. We talk a lot about Republicans being autocrats and oligarchs and taking over democracy. From the Democratic perspective, and I'm a lifelong Democrat, I felt like the Democratic Party completely removed the democratic process from its constituents. Sanders said, fair enough. That is, yeah, I'm not going to argue with that.
He gives up easily, doesn't he? Okay, you can take over my rally. Remember that whole thing?
Oh, yes.
When Occupy showed up and took over was it Black Lives Matter or Occupy? I can't remember.
It might have been Black Lives Matter.
Okay, yeah. They showed up and he's like, okay,
you're
right.
He had to do his penance, I think, for being a white man.
Yeah, exactly. Here, take my microphone.
Exactly. I have privilege.
I mean, it's, to be honest with you, him saying the Democrats are a threat to democracy. He's a guy that doesn't care about democracy, so it doesn't really bother him. For him, it's like, oh, yeah, a threat, for sure. But that's just who he is.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. We're just a Tuesday, and already have too many audio cuts. Normally, it's Thursday.
I know.
You ready for this?
What do you got?
Do you want to hear the sweet melodious vocals of Hilary Clinton?
No.
Well, you're going to.
Am I?
Yes.
Oh, crap.
She was at the Newmark Civic Life Series, and when asked a question about the first female president, any words she would have for the first female president.
Okay.
Here we go.
I'm laughing because it won't be her.
Here we go.
Right. What advice do you have for the first female president of the United States?
Well, first of all, don't be a handmaiden to the patriarchy, which kind of eliminates every woman on the other side of the aisle, except for very few.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Don't be a servant to the man.
Right.
That's what she would have the advice. Now, if anybody.
Now, I'll just say this. I just want to say this.
Her last name is Clinton?
Yeah.
It's like,
right, exactly. Yeah.
Do not be submissive to the man.
Right.
These are all women.
If he does something to disrespect you, you don't stand by him.
Right. Don't stand by your man who disrespects you. But again, the women there, liberals, all believe in the radical transgender movement where men define what a woman is, and a man is allowed into a woman's private space because the man says so, and the Democratic woman loves submitting to the man. The man says, it used to be viewed as the crime of exposure, and now the liberal woman believes that young liberal girls or young girls in general, irrespective of your politics, must submit to the will of the male who wishes to expose his genitalia to you. You must submit. You want to submit to the male if you're a Democrat woman. Tell us where we're wrong, Democrat women. You can't.
No, you cannot.
This was pure projection again. Here is a Democrat woman who was all for the radical transgender movement that given her hypothetical advice to a hypothetical female president, don't be submissive to the man, yet the entire Democratic Party, women of the Democratic Party have already have been submissive to the male to the point where they're willing to give up their place in sports, their privacy, perverted men who wish to expose themselves in front of you. Democrat women are fine with that. Why are they? Because Democratic women believe that men can be women. If men can be women, how can there be a patriarchy?
There isn't one.
There isn't one. It can't exist. Do you people think at all? Do you analyze at all? Is there any critical damn thinking at all going through your brains?
Well, the follow-up question I would have had is, well, what if that first female president, Ms. Clinton, is
a man,
a transgender, a biological male?
Right.
Go ahead, discuss. I'm going to sit here with my popcorn.
Should the biological male submit to the male?
By the way, I wasn't ordering her to discuss as a man. I wasn't that. To be clear, I didn't say discuss, ladies. By the way, ladies, don't listen to Hilary Clinton. You should do what the man says, because that's what all women do. This, and she wants to. Again, we have to point out again, when they're accusing the other side of something, turn that around. It's always a mirror.
Yeah, it's a projection. Yeah, it really is.
So, she's accusing essentially women who vote Republican. Just listen. She's the one that said.
Yeah, the other side.
They just listen. She just said it there. But what was it after 2016? They just vote for who their husband or boyfriend or son tells them to.
Right. Women don't have a mind.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. My wife always does what my son tells her to do.
And remember, that wasn't just the other side. That was independents and Democrats that didn't vote for her.
Sure. Anybody who didn't vote for
her. Any woman that didn't vote for her.
Yeah, because the man told you not to vote.
You did it because you don't control your own mind, according to Hillary Clinton.
You're weak.
You were submitting to the patriarchy.
Yeah, you're not strong.
You were only doing what your boyfriend wanted.
That's right.
Or your husband wanted.
Or your son wanted.
If you're allowed to have a husband.
Yeah. And if your husband allows you to have a boyfriend. I mean, those are things that you have to consider. I mean, it's so stupid.
It's so easy to tear apart.
It's so weak.
I'll take you with one hand behind my back.
Well,
the old Rush Limbaugh thing.
Not even sure if I need hands. Really? Just my words. I can do this with my words. Use your words, Eric.
Well,
use your words.
You're not a handmaiden, so you don't need your hands.
True. All I have to do is tell my handmaiden what to do. That's so absurd.
And the other thing is we must, again, talk to conservative women out there, because here she labels every GOP woman as a handmaiden to the patriarchy.
That's right.
Which means because, Eric, don't you? I mean, I know, I will say that almost all of my women friends are conservative. And the reason they're my friends is because I know that they are handmaidens to the patriarchy.
That's right.
That conservative women that I know have no mind of their own.
Right.
They simply submit to the will of the man. Right, conservative women?
Yeah, yeah.
And Hillary says that's who you are.
Right, because you're all weak.
Yes, you're all, you're all weak. Now get down and give me 20.
That's right. And a sandwich.
I believe that was Animal House.
Yeah.
But yeah, so every GOP woman is a handmaid to the patriarchy because we just all know that conservative women, the only reason that they exist, they believe is to serve the man, to serve the patriarchy.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
I mean, it's so stupid because it's like it's not even based in any type of reality. Here they go again, being completely and totally delusional. There's Hillary, completely and totally delusional. Women aren't like that.
No.
Conservative women aren't like that at all. Completely the opposite.
No.
Completely the opposite.
It's, again, and plus you don't have to listen to all the mumbo-jumbo about, fair trade and organic and locally sourced and sustainable. It's just coffee. Can I get some caffeine, please? Can I just get some caffeine? The thing is again, this projection, which they most often do these days, is based on that. I know why. I'll rephrase that. I know all of the many reasons why Hillary is bitter. I do. Her own party cast her aside in 2008.
Bill.
Well, Bill is reason 1 through 8.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I thought you assumed that. These reasons 1 through 8. And then her own party cast her aside, number 9, and number 10, Bill again. Number 11, Biden. If you think about the rift between those three, that we won't call it a love triangle. It's a political triangle, and there's zero love in it. Obama, Biden, Hillary Clinton. Remember?
The love triangle.
By the way, reasons 12 through 20, also Bill. Remember, Bill said recently, and I think it was Trump that talked about it, actually, and he said, Bill Clinton's a very nice guy. He told me that I should go campaign in 2016 in Michigan and some of the other states.
Oh, yeah.
And I would probably do well, and we did, and we won those states and beat Hillary.
That was the best.
Oh, my gosh.
Did she never responded to that,
didn't see a response to that. I thought there would be an immediate response. It was Trump gloating and just this, throwing Bill under the bus, under the proverbial bus.
Well, but think about this, too. Think about her, saying that GOP women are a handmaiden to the patriarchy, which means you're a servant to the man. You submit to the man.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one that said all the stuff about Bill Clinton was a right-wing conspiracy.
Yeah.
She defended her husband who cheated on her.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Isn't she a handmaiden to the patriarchy?
Right.
Herself in her own personal life?
Did she not use her husband's name to gain political power?
And by the way, don't sit there and say, well, how dare you get into her personal life? She's getting into the personal life of GOP women, saying that they're servants to men.
Right.
That
they listen to their husbands and their bosses and their.
She's the one who said it. Let's look at the history of what she has done.
Don't throw down the gauntlet unless you want the gauntlet to be used.
Yeah.
Too easy.
She is so 1990s.
No, she really is.
Nobody's paying attention to her, but we wanted to let you know what she's out there saying.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's still some. You think it'll come up again? for 2028? Do you think that they'll look at all the candidates and it'll be back to Bernie or Hillary again? Buttigieg,
I'm not gonna say no.
Buttigieg is getting pounded.
Oh my gosh! Right,
He's just getting hit every day.
right.
It's like, but you look at it. If you put Hillary into the mix, because Kamala Harris is still there. Has anybody put Hillary in that list of who Democrats should want? Put Hillary in the list and see where she
I
lands.
haven't seen her on a list in a long time.
Somebody put her on a list. See where she ends up. I'd like to see Hillary on the list. Ask Democrats, if you include Hillary, would you rather have Hillary over Harris or any of these others? And see what the vote is from Democrats.
All right, the Rasmussen people, listen, we know this. Mark Mitchell, make that happen. Come on, Mark, you're the best, dude. Make it happen. Make it happen.
But you can't ask Republicans.
Right.
It's got to be
be
Democrats. Yeah, because this would be the primary.
Right. We're not telling you how to spend your money, Mark, but come on. Over at Rasmussen Reports. Let's do this. Come on.
I mean, could they sit there and say, look, the reason that we don't need David Hogg in there is because we need to go back to what worked for us in the past, and Hillary has worked for us in the past, and David Hogg wants her out, and she's the kind of person that we actually need in there because she's stable. She's lasted all this time since her husband's administration.
Mm-hmm.
She was Secretary of State.
Mm-hmm.
She ran the Clinton Foundation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
right.
This is a qualified woman, and we need experience. If we're going to elect, if the competition is between old men, why can't we put an old woman in there?
Right. Exactly.
I just wonder if you can sell that to Democrats right now.
You might. You absolutely might. Now,
if she's going to run, then I do endorse Trump for a third term.
Yeah, we need to make that happen. Let's get some constitutional changes in order.
Let's get that moving.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, to be defeated by Trump twice. Oh, that'd be so good. At the very least, Vance could pick Donald Trump Jr. as his Veep on the ticket in 28 and defeat Hillary again. Oh my gosh.
Wow. Just funny stuff though. I find it fascinating though. And the only reason we played it is to show you the delusion that even exists. It doesn't matter whether you're a new Democrat or an old Democrat. It's delusion across the board.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's just complete delusion.
Yeah. And the projecting again, once again.
And the accusation, that all GOP women are handmaiden to the patriarchy, which means a servant to the man, that the Border Patrol and ICE is Nazis. That came from Tim Walz.
Right.
Somehow when he sits there calls somebody a Nazi and he's doing the jazz hands,
right.
It doesn't have the same impact.
It doesn't.
You're a Nazi.
It doesn't.
The jazz hands are up there going and saying, you're not convincing.
Oh, he's trying to keep his pants up. Yeah.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Aren't you glad that you got to hear from Hillary? You haven't heard from Hillary in a while.
No,
that was good, wasn't
I'm
that?
really glad.
Isn't that nice and refreshing? It's
it is.
Doggone it, in my life, the one thing I haven't been able to enjoy in a while is a nice audio cut from Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. Yeah, it breaks it up a little bit.
I can hear everybody, shut up. All right, you ready for this?
What do you got?
I had asked if there was anyone calling what was going on with Biden and the cancer diagnosis and a conspiracy theory by Republicans. Wait a minute. I thought I have the wrong one here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let me get the right one.
All right.
And because I have here it is. Yes. whether anybody was saying, okay, this is a conspiracy theory. And I say this based on the fact that MSNBC and Ezekiel Emanuel coming out going, no, he's had cancer for years, probably since the beginning of the administration at least. It just doesn't happen this way. And other doctors saying the same thing. Here's Hakeem Jeffries speaking on it.
Thank you, sir. Given the revelations with President Biden's cancer diagnosis and the release of the Her recording, why were Democrats not more open to talking about President Biden's age in 2024?
My thoughts and prayers have been extended to President Biden. It's a painful moment for him and his family. It's a very serious diagnosis. My expectation that President Biden is going to meet this moment with the courage and resilience that he's consistently shown. It seems to me entirely inappropriate that at this moment in time, when President Biden is dealing with a serious and aggressive form of cancer, there are Republicans who are peddling conspiracy theories and want us to look backward at a time when they actually are taking health care away from the American.
Okay, there he goes. He changes the topic.
Mm-hmm.
Is it is anything a conspiracy theory?
No.
There's no conspiracy. These are doctors. These are all doctors, including on MSNBC.
Yep.
I mean, the worst accusation actually came from Ezekiel Emanuel on MSNBC.
That's the biggest, in fact, probably the most significant one over the last 36 hours.
You haven't heard it. We'll play it next.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Welcome. Thank you for being here this morning. So,
thank you.
We played Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader of the House, yesterday, saying that it's a Republican conspiracy about Biden's. I mean, he's so far behind because he said the mental decline. It's like the conspiracy theory. It's just like, my gosh. And it's like, we're past that. Hakeem, pay attention. We're past that. Everybody agrees that was hidden now. No, but he called it a conspiracy theory, and the Republicans, and so we have to play again, and it may be our audio cut of the day. We may play it one more time as our audio cut of the day, because really it was the most brutal analysis because it came on MSNBC on Morning Joe. And Ezekiel Emanuel, oncologist, far left, long time, viewed as a leader of the Democratic Party, architect of Obamacare, they used to call him, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Here he is talking about Joe Biden and the cancer and how long he probably has had it.
You believe it is likely, if this prostate cancer has spread to the bone, that he could have had it for up to a decade, but certainly it's likely. Would it be fair to say it's likely to have had this for at least several years?
Oh, more than several years. You don't get prostate cancer.
So again, I just want to stop you. So this is not speculation. If you have prostate cancer that is spread to the bone, then he's most certainly, you were saying, had it when he was president of the United States.
Oh, yeah. He did not develop it in the last 100, 200 days. He had it while he was president. He probably had it at the start of his presidency in 2021. Yes, that I don't think there's any disagreement about that.
And I'm just curious again, if your doctor to a president of the United States that is a male, that is an older man, would a prostate test, and again, we're just talking about a PSA screening, a blood test that you could do along with all the other blood tests. It's not even that it would be intrusive. Would this not be one of the first tests that you would conduct as a White House doctor?
If you're a White House doctor in this situation, I think you would certainly discuss it with the president and talk about the pros and cons. I think if you then ask, well, if President Biden says, well, if I'm your father, which patients often do, what would you recommend? I think the fact is that most White House doctors would recommend getting the test. And again, the evidence is, look at President Obama, President Bush, younger than President Biden, and they both got the test.
Duh. I don't even remember being asked. It was like, all right, we're going to run your blood work.
At the very least, your annual physical, if you're getting an annual physical, and of course every president does,
yeah,
you're getting that done. That's the PSA score is vital for men. It's something that you're going to get done. And part of the reason is because it's so manageable if it's caught early.
Right.
It's so treatable if it's caught early. Sometimes requires surgery, sometimes not. It's been said, and I think someone said it yesterday, I forget who it was, but if a man lives long enough, he will likely get prostate cancer. That most men will get it, again, if you live long enough. And so it's one of those things where the insurance companies know. It makes good sense. We can do it through the as part of the CBC, the complete blood count, and we can detect it, and we can detect it early, which saves lives, saves everybody a lot of money, and a lot of heartache and everything else. So then you go back and you ask yourself, in this case, all right, the White House doctor's not saying anything. But if a president has cancer, and if that cancer has spread to the bones, it is of public interest.
Mm-hmm.
It's not anything you can keep from the public.
No, it's not.
Because the treatment of which does vary, but still has its side effects depending on the level of the treatment, the type of treatment they're using, and, of course, the overall health of the patient. All of those combined then make you look at the role of the person, and in this case, at the time, commander-in-chief, and the effect of him, of whoever that person is at that time, but in this case, we're talking about Biden, on his cognitive issues, his ability to fulfill that role. And we're told in February of 24, over a year ago, fit for office. That has to be considered as part of the cover-up.
And we knew that wasn't true because of her, HUR,
right.
and his report that Biden broke the law, but you're not going to charge him because he could not handle a trial. He would be such a sympathetic figure that no jury would convict him because he's a man who doesn't know what's going on.
Right.
And the Democrats went crazy.
Yeah.
They went nuts.
Right.
And we all know, even back then, when he pulled out, it was because of his cognitive abilities. Mm-hmm. And then you had other Democrats saying, well, no, it's not that. It's the fact that he can't win. No, it was because of his cognitive abilities. And the question was asked after that day and those weeks, those days afterwards, when Democrats were saying he's got to step down, everyone said it was because of his cognitive abilities, which then we asked the question, if he needs to not run, if he's not capable of running, and if he wasn't capable of standing trial, he sure as hell is not capable of being president of the United States. and they went crazy at Republicans, anybody who was out there stating it. And it was really interesting because we all knew the questions was out there. Well, if you're saying he doesn't have the cognitive capabilities to run for president, and the special counsel, independent counsel said that his cognitive abilities are so bad he can't even stand trial, well, then wouldn't it be logical to say that he shouldn't be president now?
Right.
You can't say that.
Uh-huh.
What do you mean you can't say it? Sure you can.
Yeah, sure you can.
But it was like it was forbidden to go to that point at all.
Yeah.
And that is the thing. But it all gets down to, again, and by the way, when I was chuckling at Morning Joe.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't know a question to ask. I can read his mind. He's saying, my audience doesn't like where this is going.
Well,
that's what I was laughing at.
This is Captain Morning Joe here. F you if you can't handle the truth.
Right.
So what you're saying is, why don't you ask Mika what you're supposed to be saying, Joe? She'll tell you. By the way,
Joe, submit to the patriarchy.
That's exactly. I was about to say they should have Hilary on their show one morning. Hey, Hilary, would you say that thing about the patriarchy thing again?
The simple question would have been, then he should have taken a PSA test. He should have been blunt.
Right.
So would a normal doctor, as if we're all idiots, would a normal doctor or a White House doctor, do you think that they would bring that? Of course they would.
Yeah. Of course.
Of course they would.
Yep.
Every single male that gets regular checkups, the doctor says, in your blood work, we're doing a PSA test.
Yep.
And most of them don't even ask. They just do it. My
Yep.
doctor, I never remember my doctors ever asking me, because they didn't ask, can we take your calcium level?
Right.
What about your potassium level? Can we take that too?
Right.
No, they just say, here's the standard blood work. For me, since, I had type 2, maybe they do more. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, okay, we're doing the blood work.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, he went and explained everything to me, where I know what my blood work actually means, which is why I panicked with the white blood cell count last time.
Well, with me, it's, can you follow my finger with both eyes? Oh, wait, that's a roadside sobriety check. Never mind.
Yes.
It's, which I've never had, to be clear.
Could you blow into this tube, please?
Right. Hey, Doc, I never have to do. Why are you wearing a badge? But it's I've never had to do that. The entire thing is, again, very interesting as the left. This really closes the door. It has just hit me. Anybody who was thinking about coming after Jake Tapper in the book, it's over now. Because you have to consider this, and Jeffries is doing the old, hack thing that he has to do as the minority leader in the House. It's a conspiracy theory and blah, blah, blah. Schumer, we're moving forward. They have to dodge. But the leftist media can't. And one of the reasons they can't is they understand what their rank and file, what their audience is going through right now. Because I actually think their audience wants to hear the truth about Joe Biden, because I think their audience blames Joe Biden for running again. He shouldn't have run for re-election. This is what they think. They've said it. He shouldn't have run in 24 at all, because they believe if Kamala Harris had more time, yeah, that's what she needed, more time to speak, she would have won. Well, that's not the case, but that's what they believe, and they believe it's his fault. Now they look at it and believe it's the people who were in charge of the cover-up. It's their fault.
Well, and again, the cover-up, it's not even the cover-up. It's what the cover-up was protecting.
Right.
And it was not a president that didn't have the cognitive abilities to run the office. It was the people who took advantage of that and had a shadow government, which means unelected officials were the ones that were directing what was going on in the executive branch because the president at the time was not capable of doing so.
Right.
It's all about a shadow government. That's what it's about.
Yep.
However you get there, it's that unelected appointees were directing policy of the president because the president could not.
Yep. And
that's the real major crime, quote, crime, to quote Van Jones, a loyal Democrat. That's the real, quote, crime to the republic.
It really is. What actions were taken without the authority?
Yep. Of the executive branch.
Of the executive branch.
Given to you by the people of the United States.
Those answers must come to the American people.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. More coming up on Biden and his the diagnosis of prostate cancer that has metastasized to the bone, former President Biden, that is. And it was interesting because Morning Joe also had another doctor on yesterday saying that Bush, Obama, and Trump all had PSA tests done and all commented on it, including Trump.
Right.
The administration commented on it, and they can't find any record of Biden doing it. And this was on MSNBC, so we'll get to that. We'll also get to some of the other analysis out there. This thing isn't going away, and Jeffries yesterday, Hakeem Jeffries, was just blah, blah, blah. Even the media wasn't paying attention to it at all. And
no, because they're right now they're extremely curious. Again, the liberal activist media wants to also put the blame on the entire Biden picture for messing it up for the Democrats for a long time. However it came about. They want something to blame. It couldn't be that Kamala was really bad or Biden was really bad. It had to be something else. I think many of them are okay with, that was his problem. He was sick. And we couldn't see it. They were hiding that from us. They want to use his illness, as an excuse.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, just getting back here because update here overnight. A late night meeting, this on the budget bill. The big plain Jane bill.
The big, it has a nice personality bill.
A late night meeting between Speaker Mike Johnson and moderate Republicans fighting for, listen how the Hill.com writes this.
Moderate Republicans.
A late night meeting between between Speaker Mike Johnson and moderate Republicans fighting for an obscure tax break ended with no deal on Monday, prolonging the fight over an issue that's emerged as one of the major barriers to the final agreement on President Trump's domestic agenda. I bring this up because you had just mentioned to me as we went into the break that you said Trump is supposed to speak to the Republicans in Congress about the budget tomorrow. And you asked the question, who's holding it back right now? Is it conservatives or is it the ones that want the extra tax break?
Right, the salt deduction
break.
limit raised. Which side is it that he's going to have to bring together or bring to his side? Who is it? Because otherwise, if it's the conservatives, he can just call Chip Roy.
Yes,
that's one phone call.
We had some questions. They have to wait for more scores now, said Representative Andrew Garbarino of New York. They're hoping to have some numbers back to us by morning. Those lawmakers, the pro-salt lawmakers, are seeking a significant hike to the ceiling on the state and local salt deduction, which was capped at $10,000 as part of the Republicans' 2017 tax law. The cap was designed to prevent wealthy taxpayers from getting a huge break, but the critics say it's also hitting middle-class taxpayers in high-income, high-tax states like New York, New Jersey, and California. The high-tax state Republican lawmakers oppose the $30,000 cap included in the Republicans' initial package. They're pressing Johnson to increase the figure as part of the changes expected to be taken up by the Rules Committee at 1 a.m. on Wednesday. They say 1 a.m. Emerging from the meeting in Johnson's office, which began at 10 p.m., SALT caucus members said leadership had offered them several proposals, and now they're waiting for the several scorekeepers, the Congressional Budget Office and the Joint Committee on Taxation, to provide estimates. Complicating the decision for Johnson are conservative spending hawks who are threatening to oppose any hike in the SALT cap that isn't completely offset by changes elsewhere in the budget. Pressure that the pro-SALT Republicans are quick to acknowledge. The speaker's doing everything he can to try to get us a yes. There's a lot of pressure coming to him from the other side. One idea that's been floated, I'm reading this for the first time, so I don't know what's coming. I saw this headline just as we were coming out of the break.
Yeah.
One idea that's been floated through the talks, according to two new sources familiar with the deliberations, is a two-part plan that would increase the deduction cap from the current $30,000 proposal to a higher number for a shorter period of time and then decrease the deduction cap after that window expires. The strategy is designed to appease conservative spending hawks seeking to lower the cost of the package while also providing SALT caucus members a political win for their districts with the higher, although temporary, deduction cap. It remains unclear what the deduction caps and timeline would be. Well, no, it doesn't. They know it, otherwise they wouldn't put it in to be scored.
Yeah.
They know what it is. They know what the numbers are.
Right.
I mean, thehill.com may not know, but they know.
Yeah, it's known to them. Right. Yeah.
It remains unclear what the deduction caps and timeline would be, how seriously leadership is considering such a proposal, or if members of the SALT caucus would accept the framework. Both sides said the talks would continue Tuesday as GOP leaders race for an agreement. Trump will enter the fray on Tuesday when he visits the Capitol to huddle with the House GOP conference, when he's expected to urge the holdouts to drop their reservations and rally behind the bill. Leaving Monday's meeting, Johnson offered no details about the leadership offers, but he said the House remains on track to pass the legislation before Memorial Day. Lots of progress that nobody is willing to talk about. I added that at the end there.
Yeah, right.
The SALT debate has become one of the thorniest sticking points, gumming up progress of the GOP's bill as pro-SALT Republicans from high-tax blue states push for a higher deduction cap and hardline conservatives demand any increase be paid for. Leadership initially proposed a $30,000 deduction cap, up from the current $10,000 cap for individuals making $400,000 or less, a number that key stakeholders rejected Instead, members of the SALT caucus floated a $62,000 deduction cap for single filers and $124,000 cap for joint filers, highlighting the gulf between the two camps. But I think they're really looking for is the $124,000 for joint filers. I think that's what they believe to get them the oomph.
Right, yeah. That's still a massive lift on that cap.
Yeah.
I'm very curious as to see when there was no cap on it, before they lowered it, what the highest SALT deduction ever was.
I remember at the time we found that was out there.
Well, remember, it was one that was quoted was New York, and it was Manhattan, and it was like, but I seem to remember it being 60,000, somewhere around 60,000 a year. But if they're talking, this is why these numbers surprise me, because if they're talking on the upper end for a couple, 120,000. Oi.
124,000.
124,000. Yeah. Then how high was it before?
Here is Representative Andrew Clyde on Fox Business yesterday saying the bill does not yet meet the moment.
Well, we made some great progress over the weekend in negotiations. I mean, we had work requirements in the bill not starting until 2029. That's 4 years from now. That's just not acceptable. Nobody understands that makes any sense. And then you have the Green New Deal subsidies that the president absolutely declared he wanted ended, and those subsidies, we're only dealing with about 50% of those subsidies as of right now in the bill. So we worked on that and made that a little better, but we've got some work yet to do. I think we've got Medicaid yet to work on to make it better. And think about this. You know, when we're dealing with Medicaid, which is a state program, but it's funded with matching funds from the federal government, on the vulnerable population where you have the aged, you have pregnant women, you have children, low income, disabled. You know, the federal government spends about $1.33 for every $1 that the state spends. But yet on this expansion population, which is absolutely bankrupting our country, the federal government spends $9, all right, for every $1 that the state spends. That's 7 times the amount being spent on able-bodied folks, adults that refuse to work versus the most vulnerable population. That is simply not acceptable. That needs to be changed, and we've got to preserve Medicaid for the most vulnerable.
Here's my question. I haven't heard anybody defending that from the Republican side. Why isn't that easy to get out? Who's holding that up? You don't hear any of that kind of talk.
No.
Because that's the one that seems to be most frustrating for most Republicans. That and the fact that the overall bill will increase the debt over a 10-year period $5 trillion higher than the current baseline right now.
Right.
Now, I don't know what the new scoring is going to be, but they haven't told us anything. This is based on the scoring from last week on the bill that they had at that point. We don't know what they're doing. They won't say what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is eerily quiet. And the fact that the president's going to go to Capitol Hill and have discussions with the GOP House today, what is it the president's going to ask, and of whom will he ask it?
Yeah, if he wants the Green New Deal gone, is he going to be vocal on it and say that needs to go?
Right.
What will the president use his clout for? I haven't seen any specifics.
I haven't either.
All he did was say, you know, the holdouts, Chip Roy, for example, are a bunch of grandstanders, but he hasn't come out and the only thing he did was when he was wishy-washy on the upper end, taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And that was all over the place.
Right, yeah.
Well, I think we should do it. I'm willing to do it. Oh.
But the GOP probably shouldn't do it.
But the GOP probably shouldn't do it.
But if they did, I'd be happy.
Right.
I'd be okay with it.
So, but why doesn't the president come out and say, I told you, I want the Green New Deal stuff gone. Get it out. Able-bodied men, able-bodied people don't get Medicaid.
Right.
Get it out of there.
Yeah.
Why won't he do that?
Right.
It can't be because of the polling. The polling would back him on those.
Yeah. I mean, I really don't. It's so hard to put. I wonder how much changed over the last week with Moody's and the downgrade. Maybe not much at all. Maybe there wasn't much influence at all.
Well, I think they would talk about if there were actually some cuts.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'd hear about that. Probably would have heard about that over the weekend.
Yeah.
But, we kind of did. Chip Roy said they were still working on it. So, I don't know. Because I still wonder where Chip Roy's going to land. I don't see him being a yes in its current form. But I don't know. I don't have any trust what the current form is going to look like in its future form. So I don't know. I really don't know where it goes. We knew this is going to be an interesting week, but it's once again, the GOP can't help themselves when they're in control.
All right, here's Chip Roy yesterday, a couple things that he wrote.
All right. Okay.
Budget resolution point 1. The Freedom Caucus agrees with Trump that we must terminate the Green New scam. But the bill currently repeals about half of it. The House GOP must do better. Weekend negotiations made progress, but do more. Again, if Chip Roy is saying the president wants it, why isn't the president out, not 2 weeks ago, not a month ago, but now saying we don't want it? Point number 2, a conservative economist friend put together a chart most favorable to the BBB, the Big Beautiful Bill, on deficits, assuming dynamic scoring, Budget Committee 2.6 economic growth over 10 years, and known scores to date, both good work accomplished and not good, too backloaded. As it looks at the deficit effect on the Big Beautiful Bill and how the deficit skyrockets in the last 5 years of the bill.
Yeah.
And then it says budget resolution point 3, the current bill does not stop providing tax money laundering schemes, allowing states to inflate health care prices and scam the federal government for more, expanded states by 90%. That goes to corporations and even Planned Parenthood and illegal immigrants. Doesn't seem like he's a yes yet.
Yeah.
Based on that from yesterday.
Right.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. Drivers must always be prepared for a roadside inspection. This means drivers should always have their personal, vehicle, and company credentials organized and ready, and having any shipment paperwork such as bills of lading or hazardous material shipment emergency response information organized and ready for the inspection official. Just an FYI, the top 2 violations written against drivers every year, as well as during Operation Road Check, are log general form and manner and log not current. Both are completely avoidable if the driver keeps the log accurate, compliant, and current at all times. Having the vehicle ready for inspection involves the driver conducting daily inspections and making sure any problems that are discovered are immediately corrected. Vehicle readiness also requires the company to make sure that the vehicle is current on all scheduled maintenance and that the maintenance schedule is adequate. This will make sure the driver is being given a sound vehicle to start with. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So then you had Representative Ralph Norman from South Carolina, who voted against the bill last week. I think voted present on Sunday to allow it to continue. Here he is talking about the bill right now. I'll let you know what he wrote because he put it on his X site. Then we'll play the audio. The American people are tightening their belts. States must balance their budgets, but Congress still spending like there's no tomorrow. Our budget bill is a solid start, but not the finish line. Time to fix it while we can. Yeah, here's what he had to say.
Well, initially I voted no because the bill needed so much work, and I was willing to delay the passage of it. And a lot of people thought that by voting no that we killed the bill. No, we didn't. We just extended the time frame that we could try to get some things done, some changes. Now, what did we get? Work requirements. Now, you would think that able-bodied Americans who can work, who choose not to work, should maybe not get a government paycheck from Medicaid. You would think that illegals who are not citizens of this country should not get a government paycheck. That's what we had to fight for.
Now, he said fight for, but other Congress people saying they didn't fix that.
Right.
He said they're fighting for it, but other members are saying we didn't get that.
Right.
Chip Roy was one of them. We just read the one thing he said of where the money's going, but let's continue.
And we did get it, and along with some of this green, I call them Green New Scam, the Biden administration says a Green New Deal, but should the taxpayers be willing to subsidize companies that should not be subsidized, like the $7,000 for electric cars? That's for the American people to decide if they want an electric car. And you shouldn't get a subsidy to kind of force the manufacture of them. Wind and solar panels. I'm sick of seeing wind and solar take away from programs that should be in effect, like building nuclear plants. That's reliable energy. I'm sorry, the sun doesn't shine every day, and Texas has found that out now. But, we'll take it as a victory, and we got work to do. Mm-hmm. The present vote was, I wasn't going to stop the bill. I mean, there's some great things in the bill, like the tax cuts. But the cancer in this country is spending more than we make.
And we would still do that and increase it by $5 trillion over 10 years is the latest estimate.
Yeah.
Because we don't know any of the estimates from what they've done this week. But it was an extra $5 trillion based on what it would do already. Mm-hmm. And these are Republicans. And you sit there, when you hear these Republican conservatives talking about it, it's the things that are in the bill, it's almost as if Democrats wrote it.
Yeah, that's exactly what
you're like, oh, are they fighting against Democrats?
Right.
No. This is what the Republican leadership has put together.
Right. Wow.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. Just talking about the budget quickly. This was Steve Cortez wrote this. Washington Republicans need to wake up on deficits. The clock is ticking on America's debt crisis. And he talks about all the good things that he says are in the bill.
Yeah.
But he says the economy poses serious risks for all Washington Republicans, and this negative energy threatens to overwhelm the astounding early victories of the Trump administration. Unfortunately, this harsh reality is almost totally ignored by Republican decision makers in the Beltway who lack any sense of urgency. You and I have talked about this.
Yeah.
In fact, they now stumble along with Biden-like budget plans that will keep America on a sad trajectory towards debt implosion. Accordingly, Moody's downgraded U.S. debt in a surprise move. The ratings agency explained that it can no longer view the U.S. government as the highest possible credit rating. Quote, over more than a decade, U.S. federal debt has risen sharply due to continuous fiscal deficits, and debt have grown and interest rates have risen. Interest payments on the government debt have increased rapidly. Understandably, some Republicans in Washington have attacked Moody's as biased, especially the firm's anti-Trump economist, Mark Zandi. But for all of Moody's flaws, it's not wrong in this particular well-explained analysis. For example, the firm correctly points out that at current trends, Speaker Mike Johnson's budget framework will lead to annual deficits at 9% of GDP by 2035 from 6.4% today, worlds away from the laudable 3% goal of the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. Here is a long-term 25-year chart view of total federal debt relative to GDP, and note this calculus reflects the entire federal debt, not a one-year annual deficit. And it's an arrow going up rapidly. Making matters worse, as spending grew out of control, interest rates shot up higher under the misery of Bidenomics, making the cost of servicing the debt increasingly untenable. For example, as the Heritage Foundation points out, right now, debt services costs are the largest expenditure of the federal government, even more expensive than the Defense Department. And interest payments now consume an astounding 63% of all federal income taxes paid. You hear that?
Wow.
Interest payments alone, 63% of all federal income taxes paid. Moreover, bond markets respond unhappily to the current trend of budget negotiations on Capitol Hill, and they look at the near-term chart of treasuries in recent weeks, and you can see how much it has gone up, what the trajectory should be, and how much higher it is than what they said the trajectory was going to be. Regarding bonds, realize the historic power of fixed-income markets. Bond traders have for centuries taken out as many government and regimes as battleships. Right now, the cantankerous U.S. bond market prices in continued stubborn inflation ahead, undoubtedly a large part because of the incredible disaster of this budget bill from Capitol Hill Republicans. And he just goes through all the different charts and everything that he has here and says it's not good. Said there's some good news, there are fixes and realistic ones. I will detail them in a follow-up article. I was seeing, I forgot who it was from the administration yesterday, stating, well, if we have 3% growth, well, we're going to be fine. If you have 3% growth.
Right. Well, that's, the thing is it's inevitable that the scoring is always jacked because it assumes certain things. Well, if it goes to this point and blah, 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 blah. I mean, in the past, they've done things like, well, assuming 4.5% growth, assuming 5%. What are you, on crack? Even 3%. The thing is, for individuals who are being responsible with their own personal budget, then you always plan for the worst, right? You always plan, all right, I'm going to have enormous expenses and less income. And that's what you plan for. If, again, you're trying to live within your means. Nobody on Capitol Hill is trying to live within our means. And I say our means, it's our money.
Average growth rate, because that's what they were saying. If we get 3% growth, we're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Average GDP growth rate over the last, since 1990, 2%. Over the last 20 years, 2.3% on average. And they're saying if we get 3%, everything will be fine.
Which means it has to get above average for the last 35 years in order to be fine.
Well, for the next 10 years, you need 3% growth.
Right.
What are the odds? What are the odds you're going to get 3%
exactly.
growth?
If you're going to go above what we've done over the last 35 years, you've got to get above that average, which, by the way, to get above that average.
By a third.
Yeah. by at least 33%, and you have to probably overcome that from the times during that period when you would be below that in order, again, to average that out during that period. At some points, you would have to be higher than that. It's
right, yeah, you'd have to be because you're going to have those years. I look, for example, I think it was 2022 was 1.94%.
Right.
Now, 2020 is an anomaly, as we saw because of that, but it's the reality of what happens. 2008, 2009 is the reality of government policy that created that, and so what is growth predicted to be this year? I don't even see what the
I don't know.
What did they say the average growth rate? It would be growth rate projection, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
For 25.
Yeah, for 2025 is the average growth rate projection for the U.S. in 2025 is 1.8 to 2.4%. Several sources point to this range. Forrester projects 1.6% growth. Visual Capitalist projects 1.8% growth. The Congressional Budget Office projects 1.9% growth. The Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia projects 2.4% growth.
2.4 being on the high end.
Right. And remember, this budget is based on 2.6% average growth during that period of time.
Right.
So that in itself, and the point would be, but if we have 3% growth, that we won't have a deficit problem at that point, or a debt. Well, we'll have a debt problem still. That's not going away, but the deficits will be drastically decreased, and we should be fine. We won't increase it if you have 3.
Right.
Well, they're already looking at 2.6% and saying they're being too optimistic.
Right.
Again, you won't know, but budgets are figured out this way, and they use we've talked about this before. Remember during the Obama White House? Remember they predicted one time, well, these projections are based on the White House projected growth of like 4.5% this year.
Right.
Like, where the hell are you coming from with that?
Right.
You're not going to have 4.5% growth.
Right.
What are you, nuts?
Well, it
was like, okay,
again,
just throw out a number and it's, okay, that's fine.
Well, no, that's why, again, I was saying earlier, the scores are so jacked because they just throw out a number on, projected growth. Well, assuming everything is at the very normal 9.2% growth, it'll be fine. Again, it's because, it always goes back to me of thinking of families, trying to live within your means, right? You hope for the best, you work for the best, but you plan for the worst. Well, on those projections, it's always, 16.5% growth. That's not unheard of. It's actually unheard of.
Well, they don't figure out their budgets like most people.
Well, that's what I mean.
Figure out our budgets, which is what is the worst possible scenario.
Because the difference is it's not their money.
Yeah.
They're not on the street if it goes south. They're not having to worry about the lights being turned off if it goes south. Nope, they just do it. Their constituents aren't up in arms about this. We're not seeing the phones being shut down like TARP 1 in 2008.
No, there's nothing like that.
Chip Roy's phones are ringing.
And it may be against him.
Right. Well, the way it's going, it seems more and more rank and file just don't care. You can say you care, but until you're lighting it up, until you're doing something and making noise about it, we know we've done this a long time. We know when people care because that happens.
Well, the surprise for me is I thought there would be a better reaction from the American public once they felt, because the thing is with the deficit, nobody ever felt it. Nobody ever was held accountable.
Right.
The first time Americans were held accountable for not really fighting and voting against the debt and insane fiscal policy was the inflation we just felt.
Right.
And then everybody went, well, where's this coming from? The spending. It's coming from the spending, and it comes from the Fed printing money in order to buy our own debt to see if they can keep the interest rates low.
Right.
And so we're printing money, which helped to cause the inflation. Think about this now. What did we talk about yesterday? What came out last week? The stealth QE that's going on.
Yeah.
The stealth QE, they said, they're not really publicizing it at all, but the Fed printed up $48 billion in money to buy its own debt, including $8.8 billion in 30-year bonds, again, to try to keep it down. But then again, that's inflationary.
Yep.
$48.3 billion in itself may not be hugely inflationary, but it puts pressure on inflation.
Yeah.
And then the Republicans, which is like, well, we're going to increase the debt by $5 trillion over the next 10 years, according to the current baseline right now. Who the heck cares? We're getting everybody tax cuts.
Right. Why not?
And then the great debate going on between economists right now, and I'm talking about conservative economists, saying that these tax cuts are not pro-growth.
Yeah.
It's to serve certain. It's to appease certain constituencies. We'll find out.
Well,
We'll find out soon enough.
Yep.
Who's right on that one?
It's going to be an interesting Memorial Day weekend.
Well, we won't find out by Memorial Day. We'll find out in a year or two from now.
Yeah.
where it all is.
Ultimately, yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, the conversation about where this is going to go. It's going to be an interesting Tuesday before Memorial Day weekend with the president talking to GOP members, because I want to see I want to see this is what I want to see. I just want to see if they promote what was talked about. Right?
Yes.
Because that's a tell as well. If they say, we're making progress, it was great, it was a great talk, we're making progress. Progress in which direction?
Yeah.
Because if they don't get into specifics.
And we don't know.
Yeah.
They really haven't got into specifics since Sunday.
Right. But with the president up there, all the media is going to be driven to, hey, what was it like? What'd you talk about? Specifically, what'd you talk about? The GOP never disappoints. Oh, I'm sorry. Always disappoints.
866-90-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Some of the biggest criticism analysis coming about former President Joe Biden and the cancer diagnosis and whether it's been hidden or not came from the leftist media. We played Hakeem Jeffries earlier, the House Minority Leader, saying it was basically a right-wing conspiracy. And we're like, no, some of the biggest, strongest points were made on MSNBC. We'll get to more of that. Remember CNN Plus? Remember that streaming service?
Yeah.
They're going to try again.
I thought they already closed it.
They're going to try again.
Oh, they closed. They just told Mike Wallace they were closing it.
Yes.
Oh, Mike.
Oh, my gosh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, remember that?
I forgot completely about that.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, he was going to be the star of CNN Plus. Wow. It's more of a CNN minus, isn't it?
Yes. And
I said Mike Wallace, Chris Wallace.
Chris Wallace, yes. I think I know.
You couldn't possibly do Mike Wallace.
I think I know why Republicans won't cut the whole Green New Deal.
Yeah.
I think I know. Coming up
next.
Oh,
good. That's a good tease. Yeah. All right.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.